Have you ever been in a group of women where everyone's talking about all the diets that they've tried and all the things that they're currently doing to try and drop pounds, while simultaneously feeling like they just absolutely hate their bodies and nothing's going to work for them because of the many, many years and decades of dieting and failed attempts and all the crazy things they've tried in the past? Me, I've been in there. I've been in that group. And the other day I was in an environment where I was hearing some of the things people were saying about how weight loss works, and it made me realize how misinformed the general population, like most of us, me included, am or were about how weight loss works. In reality, there's only really 6 things that you need to know. They're not only things that are going to help you understand how weight loss works, more than 99% of people on the internet, but they're also going to make it easier to stay consistent and more fun as well. Because if you're anything like me, you spent years of your life wasted on dieting and following fads without understanding how this actually works. Now I've lost 40 pounds, I keep it off really easily, I've had 2 kids, I'm in the best shape of my life, and it's just because I understand these very, very simple 6 things. So let's crack on. Number 1 is a calorie deficit is the only way that we lose weight. And this is really contrary to about 90% of the diet information that you will see online, where people are peddling their teas or they're peddling some kind of fad like a keto diet, and they need to tell you that it's strict adherence to the rules that is going to lead to some kind of result, or taking a product. That gets really confusing because there's so much conflicting advice about what rules to follow. Here's how it actually works. Your body needs energy to function. That energy we call a calorie. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just a unit of energy, like a centimeter or an inch. And Americans, why are you still using the imperial system? Like, please, come on, metric is where it's at. You have energy coming into your body, calories coming in, and you have energy going out of your body. And because energy can neither be created or destroyed, the first law of thermodynamics is literally just physics here. If you have more than you need coming in, then your body's going to store that extra as fat. Fat's just your rainy day fun for a zombie apocalypse. It's actually a good thing. It means that we can survive without constantly eating. So if you are overweight right now, it is because at some point the calories coming into your body have been more than the calories going out of your body. You are not a bad person, your body is not broken, it's literally just physics. And here's why this is so prevalent right now. Since the 70s, the food industry has massively changed. We have technology that now produces about 3,900 calories per person. For a lot of women, that's more than double what they need in a day. There's a correlation between the calories produced per person since the 70s and the average weight gain that we've seen as a society. So it's really nothing wrong with us as people. It's just that we have a predictable response to a change in our environment. If we have more calories than we burn, we gain weight. If we want to change that, then we need to change the equation and have less calories coming in than what we burn. This is called a calorie deficit, and it is the golden rule of all fat loss. I want to stress to you, every single diet, if it works because it gets people into a calorie deficit. Keto, high carb, raw till 4, intermittent fasting, calorie counting, you name it. When they work because they had different ways of helping to change people's behavior, or change the calories in people's foods, or shorten a window so that people ate less calories. It's just people eating less calories. That's how all diets work. Crazy, I know. When they don't work, it's because they didn't get you into a calorie deficit. You can be following the rules perfectly and still not see weight loss because it didn't actually help you to lower your calories. Just because all diets work this way doesn't mean that they're created equal. And there are some ways of eating that make it much, much easier and more sustainable to actually get into a calorie deficit. And that brings me to point number 2. Calorie density is the most important factor when it comes to how to get into a calorie deficit. And calorie density just means the amount of calories in a given weight of food. The crazy thing is that this can vary by 40-fold. Broccoli is about 120 calories per pound, whereas oil is about 4,000 calories per pound. And you're probably not drinking a pound of oil, but what that means is that the tablespoon of oil that you cook your broccoli in could be more calories than the broccoli itself. I just saw a post on Instagram today that genuinely made me want to tear my hair out, and that is that when you're in a dieting phase, you shouldn't really change anything and that you should just reduce your portion sizes. I couldn't disagree more, because if we actually could consistently reduce our portion sizes, then we wouldn't have an obesity epidemic. The problem with reducing portion sizes is that a big part of us feeling full and satisfied is actually having a decent amount of food in our stomach. You've probably experienced this while dieting. Please let me know in the comments, because I definitely have. When you're eating less, you feel hungrier, and you're already trying to exercise more and be more restrictive with your diet, cut things out, and it typically leads to some kind of binge at some point. Most of the time, getting into a calorie deficit is already going to make you hungrier, but you can offset that if you still eat big portions of food and just make sure that they are lower in overall calories by using the concepts of calorie density. A general rule of thumb when you're in a weight loss phase is that you want to be eating foods under 700 calories per pound, and you want to fill up your plate with at least half non-starchy vegetables, the lowest calorie food on the planet, so that you are reducing the higher calorie elements, but you're still keeping that volume intact. The lowest calorie dense foods are things like potatoes, rice, whole grains, and then fruits and vegetables are even lower. I'm going to show you a couple of meals where the calories in the food are very different, even though the portion size doesn't appear to match what those calories actually are. So this is an extremely small amount of a dressing. This is 2 tablespoons. It's already 240 calories for that tiny amount. And like, yeah, it tastes okay. Sure. Is it worth it? How crazy is it that this salad right here, over 1,100 calories, and it's not even got as much food in it as the other one that I just made. And like, I'm gonna do a little taste test. I mean, it's yum. Is it worth 1,100 calories when I could have this one for half of that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna stick to this one. A little note on this is that this meal is not an aberration to what would be considered normal by some kind of fitness influencer. It would be considered a very healthy meal. And I always see fitness influencers lather on even more olive oil after cooking all of their vegetables in olive oil, making a dressing that's like oil-based or tahini-based, and then adding a bit at the end. This looks great, and maybe it tastes great too, but if your goal is fat loss, then racking up extra calories is most likely what's actually stopping you from consistently getting into that deficit. Calorie density is absolutely wild, and it's one of the biggest things that changed for me when I came to actually building meals that got me into a calorie deficit in order to lose fat. I've got Nick in the kitchen with me, and I'm going to give him these two and see what he thinks. So these both have different calories.
Really?
If you were to order either of these in a cafe, do you feel like that would be, you'd think that you would be eating like a really healthy meal?
Exceptionally.
Which is higher in calories? Let's start with that.
I honestly don't know.
Well, just take a guess.
I think this one.
That one's higher in calories?
From looking at it, yes.
Okay. How many calories do you think is in that bowl?
400, 500?
And how many calories do you think is in this bowl?
Slightly less.
Slightly less. Okay, so this bowl is 550 calories.
550.
You're pretty good with that.
Yeah.
This bowl is 1,100 calories.
Crap! Is the kale got oil on it or something?
Yeah.
I feel tricked.
But you can see how hard it is to know just by looking at something. Like, this is double the calories, and it's actually less food.
How?
Just because it has oil, essentially.
Okay.
That's the biggest reason. And because it has less like low calorie elements like broccoli and buttercup. But it's funny, right?
It is. It's unreasonable.
This is the very definition of working smarter, not harder with your dieting. And it is by far the most impactful thing that helped me to lose 40 pounds and now keep them off. Because I can eat 500 calorie meals that actually keep me full. The third piece that ties into this is that while there's foods that are better and worse for weight loss, I don't believe that there are good or bad foods, and I think this kind of binary thinking is what gets a lot of people in trouble when they're trying to diet. And if your goal is fat loss, then you want something that is low in calorie density, super filling, so that you don't want to go and have a pizza afterwards. It actually curves some of those cravings. It's delicious, so you enjoy it, and it's really nutrient dense, so that you're not actually going to get deficient in something vital like iron or vitamin C. I don't know how the carnivore crowd is going, honestly. You're also going to be wanting to minimize some of the foods that trigger a dopamine response that causes you to want to eat more of them, especially if those foods are high calorie, which they always are. If you have a choice between potato and donuts, you probably know that potato is the better option. But what if you have a choice between potato and rice? Well, I'd run it through that kind of filter. And part of this is going to be dependent on you as an individual. Which is inherently higher in calories? Well, in this case, rice. Just by a little bit though. Which makes me feel more full and satisfied? Well, potato has a higher satiety index. It means that when people eat potatoes, they get really, really full and satisfied really, really fast. You know that feeling when you've had like a huge Thanksgiving dinner and you just couldn't even eat your favorite piece of cherry pie? That's the same kind of effect that potatoes give most people. From a calorie density perspective and what is going to be best for weight loss, think about things that are high in fiber and high in water. These are unprocessed foods. Why? Because water and fiber add bulk to your meals and they help them to be more satisfying. Little quick note on this. This is why I would never say that broccoli is better than something like potatoes. Because if you were to just eat broccoli, it would be like just trying to drink water and hoping that that would fill your stomach enough to not want to eat anything else. Vegetables are 95% water, so we have to actually pair them with something filling so that we are eating enough to not want to go and have a binge later on. When we're looking at what is the combination of foods that is going to help me to stay full and satisfied that is also low in calories, you cannot have one without the other. You will fail if you try that. Number 4 is adherence is the biggest reason that people get out of a calorie deficit when they're dieting. And what that means is that we go from being on plan, whatever that looks like, to being off plan. This is a typical scenario for people who try to reduce their calories too much, or they think that they have to be perfect in their diet, and then when they're not, they go and have a binge. Let's say that you were eating 1,500 calories a day, and you do that 5 days of your new diet. We're sitting at about 7,500 calories. But then let's say you have a bit of a bingey weekend, which can happen very, very easily with high calorie dense food. You can have a 10,000 calorie weekend extremely easily. Consider that the average takeout meal is over 2,000 calories without drinks and without dessert. Now we're sitting at 17,500 calories for the week. Over the course of 7 days, as an average, that's actually 2,500 calories. For most people, that's not going to be a calorie deficit. I mean, for contrast, if you were to have a more moderate approach where you were eating 2,000 calories a day, which is my goal while in this fat loss phase that I just entered, then you're going to be able to stay more consistent, your meals are going to feel more filling, and that's going to feel sustainable long term. You're actually eating overall as an average 500 calories less a day because you have a higher adherence. And this is not just over the course of the week, this could be over the course of weeks, it could be over the course of months. We're looking at what is your adherence for an entire year. Whenever I talk about the meals that I eat for fat loss and what I recommend, I typically say 500 to 600 calories, and the amount of people that freak out about that being too much, it absolutely blows my mind. That's a couple of slices of pizza. It's a few beersies on the weekend. It's a half a tub of Ben & Jerry's. The reason that I didn't lose weight wasn't because of a 500 calorie bowl of oatmeal, which I was scared to eat. It was because I would do a fully raw smoothie and then I would have a binge. When it comes to adherence, no matter how low you think your calories are, the math ain't mathing if you're inconsistent. Number 5 is that weight loss doesn't equal fat loss on the scales in the short term. A lot of people are going to be triggered by this, but I would actually recommend, and the data supports this, that you weigh yourself every single day. This means you'll learn your daily fluctuations, and over the course of, let's say, a week, you take every single number, you divide it by 7, and then you have an average loss from your starting point to what that average is by the end of the week. Don't be seduced by diets that you can lose 7 to 10 pounds in a week because it's water. Keto diet or any low carb diet is a really good example of this. Because you're not eating carbohydrates, which hold on to more water with those glycogen stores, you can instantly see a big drop in weight on the scales. But it is not that you've lost more fat, it is just that you have less water in your body. Take an average over a longer period of time, weigh daily, and look at that data trending down over a longer timeline. And finally, number 6, exercise has not been shown to lose weight. And I know there's going to be comments about this one. You can go and look at the data on this. You can look at the meta-analysis, and It really is quite sad. Most people think, when you poll them, that being in the gym, running, doing cardio is going to actually help them to lose weight. Let's do some more math though. What actually happens is you go and burn, let's say 200 calories doing a bit of a jog. Throughout the day, because of that cardio, you're hungrier. Maybe you eat about 100 calories more. But even if you were to control for that and be extremely strict with yourself, and somehow have a way of measuring that, which most people aren't good at, by the way, then you would still be moving by about 200 calories less in a day. So you eat 100 calories more and you move 200 calories less. You could actually be in a calorie surplus simply by adding in cardio. And I'm not saying don't do it. It's an amazing thing. I love cardio and it's incredibly important for your heart health and your mental health, but see that as a way to improve those metrics rather than a tool for weight loss. What you can do instead though is walking and strength training. Walking comes under the radar of like a non-exercise activity. I'm sorry, walking is not really considered an exercise, but it allows you to burn more calories and it doesn't seem to make people hungrier or make them move less at subsequent times of the day. Strength training is going to mean that you have more muscle mass on your body, which burns more calories at rest. From a purely physical vanity standpoint, you can achieve more in the final stages of weight loss by focusing on muscle growth than you can by just simply losing more weight. And I've done just this over the past 8 months where I've focused on building more muscle. And you can go look at some of the videos I've done about my bulk. There's so much more I wanted to cover in this topic, and I did a full YouTube breakdown where it's actually 10 things that we look at, but I condensed it down because let's face it, you're looking at all those videos on the sidebar and wanting to click away. Before you do that, let me just say one final thing. Whether you have PCOS, you are post or premenopausal, whether you are short or you have been dieting for your entire life, your body is not broken. You can still lose weight, but it is going to require what it requires for everyone, a calorie deficit. There are predictable, easy ways in order to do that, and I outlined them in much more detail in my free mini course. I made this mini course so that you could have all of the information you need to get started on your weight loss journey. I 1000% believe that this information should be taught in public schools and not gatekept by nutritionists or any of these wacky gurus online that claim that their tea or their supplements is really what's going to help you to burn fat. It takes time to change behavior, but go put a potato in the microwave right now, cook up some broccoli, add some hummus. You've got a 500 calorie meal that is going to be amazing to get you into that weight loss zone. Plus filling as well. That's it from me. Let me know in the comments which of these points you found most illuminating and whether you think I should get a tattoo of broccoli on my arm. I'll see you next week for another video.